Hello and welcome to Guitar Club. My name's Dave and thanks for joining me for today's live stream where I'm going to be talking to you about strumming and learning how to strum properly. Now, if you have been following the channel at all, you might know that I've tried to do this live stream about 8 times now and it seems to have failed every single time. So hopefully this one will work absolutely fine. So first 5 minutes or so I'm going to be talking to you just about things that you need to know when you're starting to get into strumming patterns and things, stuff that I think is fundamental for you to learn. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go through the fundamentals of rhythms and the beat and subdivisions of the beat. Then we're going to move on to practice routines. So we're going to be taking everything that we're discussing first and putting them into some practice routines for you to do. Then we're going to use everything we've gone through to go into creating your own strumming patterns. And then at the end, we're going to discuss a few things about how to make your rhythms sound good. So, first of all then, we need to understand the beat. So the beat is a basic unit of time. It's the pulse of the music. It's what people dance to. It's what we nod our head to, tap our foot to. It's the backbone of the music. So as musicians, we learn to count the beat. And this is really important to do because understanding the beat and the count is going to help us for understanding rhythms and understanding strumming patterns. And like I say, it is the backbone to everything. Everything in music stems from the beat. So it's really important that we understand it first of all. So like I said, the beat is just a count. Now there are different types of counts and we can call these time signatures. But in this lesson, we're just going to cover the most basic of time signatures, which we can call common time. And it's also referred to as 4/4 time. And understand this count and the subdivisions of this count will basically be where we come up with all our strumming patterns from. So it's important to have a good understanding of this first. So I'm just going to go through this quickly with you. So the basic count of 4/4 is just counting to 4 over and over again, but you keep it even. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we don't speed up, we don't slow down, we just keep it dead even. And every time we get back to 1, that's called a bar. So we just get used to counting 1, 2, 3, 4. That's basically it. That's basically everything we need to know about the basic beat. Now, when I'm doing one-to-one lessons, I do have a bunch of exercises that I go through with people to make sure they understand the beat. So if you want to have a go at those, they're on the screen now, and you can get them from the link in the description box below, where is the free download of everything that we're covering this lesson. So basically the idea is you can play this with a metronome, because it's always good to practice with a metronome, and you just count to 4 and you get used to playing on any single one of the subdivisions. So for example there, it says first of all to play on 1 and then second to play on 2. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. So that's actually the first 4 exercises right there, but you can do those with a guitar, so that is absolutely fine. Now, when we're doing this count, the first thing we really want to be able to do is to play down drums on any one of those. So, and we're going to start off for us going through playing on all of them. So I'm just going to deaden the strings. I'm not going to play a chord or anything, not going to do any changes. So all we're going to do is count to 4. Let's say practice this stuff with a metronome. I'm not going to use a metronome here just so I can go through it and just explain it all. So to 4 and we down strum on each one of those numbers and we have to hit it dead on the numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's that simple. Now you notice there my hand is very relaxed and I'm just hitting the in a very even pattern. I'm not speeding up, I'm not slowing down, it's even and my hand is moving constantly in an up down fashion. And that's basically that. So that's your basic downbeat pattern. So this is actually the next thing we come to, downbeats. So when we strum downwards on each of these, we call these downbeats or onbeats. You're playing them on the numbers, so these are on beats, and we can also call them downbeats because you're strumming downwards in direction for these. Now the important thing that I want you to pay attention to here is this does not change throughout all the patterns we're going to cover throughout this lesson. Downbeats will always be played with downward strumming, always. That's a really key thing to get to grips with. And the reason I do mention this quite a lot to people is it's where people go wrong all the time. They try and do up strums where they should be doing down strums, vice versa. So the key thing here is downbeats or onbeats will always be, for the sake of this lesson, be done with downward direction strumming. Okay, so when we do these on-beat strumming patterns, where we're just strumming downwards on each of the beats, going 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll notice that your hand does move in a constant motion. It goes down, and then it has to go up across the strings to get to the next down strum. So down, 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 but your hand is moving as down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now, if we connect with the strings on these upward motions, then these will be called upbeats. So we're going to be going down, up, down, up. Now you notice, if I miss those upbeats and I miss the strings on them, my hand still moves the exact same. The directions haven't changed. So my hands are still going down, up, 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 down, up. And that is the key. So it's the same thing as we just discussed with the down strums. What we're doing now is we are dividing each beat into two parts. We're doing an up strum and a down strum. So the down strums are the downbeats or onbeats, and the up strums are not on the numbers now. They're in between them, which means they're offbeats. So we call these offbeats, and we can also refer to them as upbeats because we're doing them with an upwards motion, an upwards strum. The key thing here to keep in mind is downbeats are always going to be, or onbeats are always going to be done with a down strum, which means the offbeats or upbeats are always going to be done with an up strum. Again, pay real attention to that because that is where people go wrong. Like I say, playing down strums when they should be doing up strums and vice versa is where people tend to make the main mistakes. So hopefully that all makes sense. So that's everything we need to go through about that. So when it comes now to how we count this, so when we have the down strums, they're obviously on numbers, but when we're on the up strums, we don't have a number to say. So we're going to now add the word and. So we're going to be going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's how we count it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So on beats, numbers, off beats, ands. There we go. So the down strums are on the numbers and the up strums are on the ands. So now we've got 4 strums on downwards and 4 strums on upwards. So this gives us a total of 8 different strums, which is why we call these 8th note rhythms, because we've got 8 subdivisions to each bar now. And that is why we have the term 8th note strumming patterns. So I hope that is actually making sense so far. And now we're going to use what we've just learnt to go through our practice routines and our strumming patterns. So when we're practicing these, a couple of things before we start. Like I said, your hand should be moving a constant up-down motion. If you are doing these patterns right, they should feel right. They should feel natural. What sometimes happens is people do things like this, where they go, and there's like a stutter because they're trying to change the direction. If you're doing it right, no matter what rhythm you're doing, it should feel natural because your hand will keep going in the exact same directions as what we've discussed. So let's start going on to some of these practice routines then. So the other thing actually I wanted to mention here is just about general technique. Just before we go through the practice routines, I hope this is okay for me to quickly go through. We should have our rhythm hand really relaxed. You can use a plectrum, just hold your plectrum as you normally would. There's videos on my site about how to hold a plectrum, so I'm not going to go into too much about it, but if you want to hold it between your fingers and your thumb, or one finger and thumb, that's fine. Hold it with just enough grip so you're not going to drop it. But your arms should be quite loose and relaxed. I'm going to come to a bit more about this later, but your arms should feel nice and relaxed as you're doing these patterns. So on to the first practice pattern. So it's basically what we just covered there. We're just going to be doing down up strums on each of the subdivisions. So we'd count that as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and and. So the important thing here is, and the whole idea of this exercise has always been the one to come back to before you start doing the next patterns. We always come back to this one, and the reason is this gives us our strumming directions. The directions is the thing to work on at the moment. Getting strum directions is the key. And it's kind of the whole point of why I'm doing this lesson anyway, because the strum directions is the most important thing. Now, the next thing we're going to start doing is we're going to be missing out different subdivisions. So in this first group of exercises, we're going to be missing out up strums. So that's the and counts. We're going to be missing out different ones. Now, the whole point of why I'm saying miss out is because we still move our arms as if we were going to strum that subdivision, but we just miss the strings. So this one, we're just missing out the and of one. So it goes down, then you miss the strings, and it's back to a down. And this is why people stop. They'll go down, up, down, and they'll stop at the bottom, like stop, and then they'll try and do the two with an up. And it shouldn't be. It should be down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. You see, I didn't connect with the strings, but still my hand moves up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's the basic general gist of the exercise. Now, you can spend as much time as you need to getting these exercises correct. I don't expect you just to fly through them like I'm going to go through now. I want you to actually spend time making sure that each one of them is right and it feels good and you can do it naturally without really having to think too much about them. So the next pattern then, so we've just missed out the and of 1, so next we're going to miss out the and after the number 2. So here we go. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, up, 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 down, up. You see, the hand keeps moving. Keeps moving. That's the whole point of this. So again, spend as much time as you need to on that exercise, and you might have guessed the next one is going to be missing out the and after the number 3. So let's give it a go. Here we go. So get your count first. If you want to, you can go back to just doing all of them and then just get the groove of it going first and then start missing out that one. But try and count along. Count in your head if you need to. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, up, 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 down, up. Okay. I'm aware you can't. Usually I actually have the camera on the guitar so you can see the rhythms properly, but that was what was causing a lot of the problems I was having. So I hope you don't mind that that's not there. And the last one, you might have guessed it, is missing out the up strum after the number 4, so on the and of 4. So let's give it a go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Oops, did it wrong. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Cool. So not too bad though, those, are they? I mean, it might take a bit to get used to at first because the whole point, like I say, is getting used to strumming direction. But they're not as bad as you think, really, are they? They're not too bad. But especially if you are doing them right, like I say, they should feel natural. And they shouldn't feel forced. There shouldn't be any stutters. Your hand should be in a constant up-down motion. But I don't see any reason why people can't do this. And we're also not focusing on chords at the moment. We're not worrying about chord changes. We're doing those in other things. Check out the website. I've got loads of lessons on that. The thing here is we're concentrating purely on this rhythm hand. So now on to the next set of exercises, which is going to be missing out down strums in the subdivisions. So now, and you can miss out the number 1, the down strum number 1, but when you're new to this stuff, the number 1 is important. You need that number 1 to let you know when the bars are starting. So when doing practice routines at first with this stuff, I usually tell people to start missing out number 2, then number 3, then number 4. So that's what we're going to do. Miss out number 2 first. Same thing, your hand keeps moving, and you just want to miss the strings on the particular we're working on. So this is number 2. Some people do find this one makes it easier if you actually say the words as you do it. For some reason it seems to work for some people, so try it. 1 and miss and 3 and 4 and 1 and miss and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, miss and down, up, down, up, down, up, miss, up, down, up, down, up. Can you see? It just keeps moving. 1 and 2 and 4 and... See? Keeps moving. The hand is doing the exact same thing now as what it would be when I press on the strings. Some people find missing the down strums harder than the up strums, but everyone's different. I have it the other way around with people as well. Whichever one you find easier, which one everyone find harder, it doesn't matter. So now we're going to try and make another subdivision, which is the number 3. So the down strum on the number 3. So let's give it a go. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and miss and 4 and 1 and 2 and miss and 4 and down, up, down, up, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. See, not speeding up, not slowing down. Everything's very even, hands constantly moving. So we're flying through these now. So try the last one of these set of exercises, which is missing out the number 4. So let's give it a go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, up, miss, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... I actually found counting them out loud was actually tricky there. I actually made quite a few mistakes. I am sorry about that. We all make mistakes, as I'm sure as new guitar players will all be aware. And every guitar player is aware of that. No one is perfect, especially in the early stages. So there are your key rhythm exercises to work on first. Getting control of all the subdivisions is very important. Now we're going to try missing out 2 different subdivisions. So we're going to start off by just missing out up strums. So let's try this one. So we're going to miss out the and after the number 1 and the and after the number 3. So 1 and 2 and 3. Sorry, 1 and... Come on, Dave. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2... Why am I finding this so hard? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... That's quite a cool rhythm, that. Quite a cool rhythm, that. I like that. So that's that one, all well and good. Now the next one we're going to do is actually missing out 2 down strums. Obviously we're not going through every combination here. This is for you to make up your own practice routines. I mean, you are learning these things yourself, so I want you to come up with your own routine. So you could miss out, I mean, there we missed out the and of 1 and the and of 3. You could miss out the and of 2 and 4, miss out the and of 1 and 2. Come up with as many variations. You can miss out more than 2, you can miss out 3. You can miss out whatever you want. So come up with different variations as long as your down strums are where down strums should be on numbers and your up strums are where up strums should be on the ands. So let's try the next one. The next one we're missing out 2 down strums. So we're going to miss out the number 2 and the number 4. So if I can do this one a bit easier than the last one for some reason. So 1 and miss and 3 and miss and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Again, I like this one as well. Really nice rhythm. I like that. So those are your exercises to start with. Like I say, spend as much time as you need with these exercises. It's important to get them right and feeling natural. And the whole point of these exercises is to get your strumming direction correct. That's the main thing I see people get wrong. So I keep going on about this, and I'm sorry if it's annoying you, but make sure you're getting your strumming directions correct. And that's the whole point of those exercises. Spend as much time as you need to on them. And now let's move on to getting creative. So we're going to use these patterns now and what we've learned, mix them up and get creative with them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to mix up a missing out, down strum and an up strum. You can do as many of these as you want. You can miss out as many down strums as you want and miss out as many up strums as you want. As long as your strumming directions are in the right places, you're going to come up with some really cool strumming patterns. I'm only going to do one with you right now because this is for you to experiment with and for you to go on your own creative journey with this. So the one we're going to do is missing out the up strum after the number 1, so on the and of 1, and missing out the number 3. Now the reason I'm doing this one is this is a really common strumming pattern. Every video you will see about strumming patterns will cover this strumming pattern because it's one of the most common strumming patterns of all time. If you learn this and a bunch of chords, you'll be able to play so many songs, it's unbelievable. So this one, we're going to missing out the and of 1 and the number 3, so it's going to go down, down, up, down, up, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and miss and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, down, up, down, up. Sorry if I'm doing different ways of saying it. Everyone finds different ways of saying it. Some people just telling them the direction really works, but as long as your hand is keeping on moving, it's fine. And essentially this rhythm is just down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. Start as slow as you need to at first. When it starts to feel right, you might not even need to count anymore. That's what I usually find with rhythms, is once you've got this pattern, you don't need to count anymore. Now it starts to feel natural, speed it up a bit. This rhythm, so popular and so common. So that's what I want you to do so you can miss out, like I say, any combination of down strums and up strums as you like, but that rhythm pattern is so common. Keep using the same chord progressions, don't I? Very common chord progressions, these. You can hear that rhythm pattern is used an awful lot, so get used to that one. Really good one for you. So that's what I wanted to cover about creating your own patterns. And this is, let's say, I'm not going to go for any more patterns than those. These are for you to experiment with and to do whatever you like with and have fun. You know, I mean, that's what you should be doing with these, is have fun, as much fun as you can. So let's go on to now the topic that I wanted to come to at the end, because it's, like I say, getting your directions. I know I'm going on about this. I don't want to bore you with it, but getting your strumming directions right is the key. When you've got it right, that's when you can work on sounding good. Because you really need to get your patterns down. Then this is more automatic. The hand is moving exactly as it should be. It's used to what it's doing. It gets going. And then you can start working on a few of these things that I'm about to talk to you about. So, sounding good. Right. There's a few exercises I want to go through with you, but I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things first as well. So, I mentioned before about keeping this arm really relaxed. This is kind of the key to all of this, is this hand should be really, really relaxed. If you want a rhythm to sound relaxed, then you should feel relaxed. Your entire arm should be loose, should be really loose. So, a couple of things I want to mention about this though. For starters, use a thin plectrum. I mean, I've been using these Fender mediums. I think they're probably about 0.7. But with beginners, I often recommend that they get ones like this. Like this is a 0.46. It's really, really flexible, and that can help you have just a bit of a nicer sound of pick hitting the strings. But on the same lines is your entire arm needs to be relaxed. Now, if you were to put your arm out and you were to move your hand from side to side, that's the range of motion you've got. If you have your wrist really relaxed and it's loose and it flops down, you find that you've got a lot of movement in your arm there, in just from the wrist as well. So you should be strumming a bit from your elbow, but also from your wrist. Now, I'm not saying you should have your wrist completely down like that. But one thing that I've noticed with a lot of people when they tell me they don't sound good when they're playing rhythm, they have the wrist really tight and locked. They have the wrist like this and they're strumming purely from the elbow. And if you do that, your strumming will sound, even if you got your directions right. It won't sound relaxed, whereas I relax my wrist. It's a subtle difference, but it means I have control over how I'm attacking the strings. There's a bit more flexibility there. So that's something I would like to mention, is how relaxed you feel in your arm is going to help. Now, there's a couple of exercises that are going to help you with sounding good. One of them is, right, so pick a rhythm, any rhythm you want to do. I'm just going to go to the basic one we started with, which was just doing down-ups. Now, you see there, I'm just doing literally just scratching the strings, down-ups. Now, first things, I don't want you to speed up or slow down. This tempo remains like this, but I want you to bring your dynamics to as soft as you can, and then gradually bring them up to full pelt. You see the tempo's the same? And then back down and gradually does it. The smoother you can do the dynamic range, and then back up. So the whole point of this is to develop a full dynamic range. Playing hard and soft and loud and quiet, whatever you want to call it, is going to be one of the keys to making yourself sound good. If I just incorporate a bit of that at random, I'm not going to do anything structured yet, but just with a G chord. You see, there's a much more dynamic range, which adds, I suppose the term you use is a bit of feel to your playing, just by having the dynamic control. Now, another exercise I'm going to give you is about playing different string sets. This is something that comes up a lot with people in the first playing, is when you're practicing your chords. For example, we all know the feeling when you're playing a D chord, get it right, and you're strumming from the D string. And the strum pattern to that is like, how do I from just the D string and not hit the top two strings? Little secret about that is we all hit different strings. We don't always from the D string. I mean, that'd just be weird if you just always played from that D string. So the way I kind of explain this is, if your strings, rather than strumming from a particular place, think of it as strumming from string sets. Think of it as playing from the top strings, or emphasizing the top strings more, the middle set, and then the bottom set. And when you're playing a D chord, you're probably going to be playing the bottom set more. A chords, C chords, maybe more the middle set. And the E chords, you're playing more from the top, or all of them. I actually saw a great interview with Dave Grohl about this, and he was talking about this exact same thing with strings and how he attacks the strings and how he thinks of rhythm playing. And he was saying he used to think of it as kick drum and snare and kind of like a washed out cymbal kind of sound. So he would mix it up and make like drum patterns. You see, there's like a snare kind of sound, like. You add stuff like that to your playing. Add some dynamics. And I'm trying to keep the same rhythm, just down up strumming. And again, these are things that you're not just going to get by knowing about them or just trying them a couple of times. You need to practice this stuff and put them into practice routines. So even if you just do what I did there and deaden the strings and just try and get the feel of it. And the last thing I want to talk to you about when it comes to making things sound good is accenting. And when you accent, you are actually using a combination of all of these things I've just said to you about dynamics and string sets, but you want to emphasize certain beats, which is what we come back to about what we started with, understanding the beat. If you can accent certain beats or any subdivision of the beat, it's going to help you to sound more rhythmical, and it's going to help your groove and make people want to, like you say, tap their foot, nod their head, dance to it. Even if you're just a guitar playing on its own, you should have a strong groove where people might want to nod their head or tap the foot. So get used to trying to emphasize certain beats. So let's say I want to emphasize number 1. 1. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Emphasize number 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Number 3. 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Number 4. Now, if you want to get a nice place to start with this, a good pattern that's going to add a nice groove to your rhythm, is accent 2 and 4. Even if you're a solo acoustic guitar playing with a singer, you can accent 2 and 4. It's going to highlight what we call the backbeat. When we play with drummers, they will often accent number 2 and 4 with the snare drum. That's where the snare hits. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and... See, accent at 2 and 4 can have a really good sound to it. So I do believe that's everything I wanted to cover in this lesson. So if you do have any questions at all at any time, then don't hesitate to leave some comments in the comment section. I'll see if I can get back to them. And I do hope that this has actually helped. And I also hope that this live stream has worked this time. I don't want to have to do it again. I've done it so many times, this lesson. But hopefully that's covered everything you need to go through. And I hope that's helped. And like I say, if you can leave me some comments, if you have any questions, if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel. And I will see you next time. Thanks very much.